Hello and welcome to another episode of the Formation Podcast. This is episode number 23, and it's an interesting time for us at the moment as we've recently found out through the power of Snapchat memories, that was Devon's Snapchat memories, that it's almost a year since the Formation was formed. Initially, of course, as a radio show. And if you're watching this and you can remember the radio show or even listened to the radio show, then we salute you for sticking with us. But at the same time, if this is your first episode, then there you go. It has been a year. But can you believe it's a year, Devon? I mean, it's flown by, isn't it?
It has. Especially with the little thing called the pandemic that's gone on, just making it feel like a year that's gone longer than it has. And our 5-month hiatus as well, we can't mention. But yeah, it has been a genuine good ride doing the podcast and the radio show. So yeah, it's been fantastic. I just love the video of you on that, just because it just looks like you're getting in the zone for BBC Radio 1, taking over Greg James's role.
Yeah, we might have to stick that on our socials on the actual year anniversary. Maybe we'll sort that out. But no, I wasn't going to mention the 5-month hiatus, Devon. But we are back, and it is very good to be back. But Sam, before we move on, I just want to mention, I think it was you and Devon who came up with the name, the Formation, which has turned out, I think, from most people I've spoken to, have been quite impressed by that and like the name. Can you think back to when it first came to your heads?
Yeah, I think it was literally like the night before we did the first show. I think we were just walking back from somewhere. I can't remember.
Did we go to a sports bar to discuss it, and we spent
and we didn't come up with anything.
And then did we go to Sainsbury's or something, and it just clicked?
We said, how can we work 4 into it? Because there's 4 of us, football theme, and then the Formation came.
Yeah, I think they sent us a voice note, didn't they, Harry? I don't know.
No, they sent me a voice note through my kitchen window because I was like, we were there for like we're in the sports, we're in Spoons to start with, and then the sports bar for about 3 hours, and I was like, no, I'm fed up. I need to. We've not found an idea. I need us to go back to my flat and make food, and then I just randomly hear screaming through my window. Luckily, because the kitchen's got a massive window, or did have a massive window where I was before, screamed it through, and there we are. It's a class name, and we're stuck to it.
Well, I have to say, I didn't know that, and I'm disappointed I didn't get a window message.
George,
a bit higher up, George.
It would have been more of a challenge. I'll give you that. But yeah, there we go. We've had a little reminisce, but we will get on with what we're doing now anyway. But before that, I do just want to mention last week we did an episode focused completely on England, and we named our England 11 that we would take to the Euros. And if you're watching this and you haven't seen that yet, I'm going to recommend that you go and watch it, because I think we all kind of thought it was probably one of our better ones. Some interesting debates in there, mainly surrounding Declan Rice. But if that's your thing, then go back and give it a watch. It's just over an hour, so I think you'd enjoy that. But anyway, on with this week, and kind of the biggest result of the week just gone as we're talking. Well, the second biggest after Norwich's win at Coventry. But no, the biggest result was PSG's win at Barcelona, probably. They were 4-1 winners. Kylian Mbappe getting a hat-trick. But PSG, of course, are now led by Mauricio Pochettino, former Spurs manager. And Spurs fans will have been looking on at that in envy, I would have thought, because Poch was a big favourite at Spurs. And today we want to talk about the man who replaced him, Jose Mourinho, because Spurs haven't had a lot of fun in recent months. So Tottenham, you probably remember back in December, they beat Arsenal 2-0, and that sent them to the top of the Premier League. And I think many people at that time saw them as genuine title contenders. But fast forward just over 2 months, and they sit in 9th position in the Premier League. It's been quite a drop-off, and they've lost 5 of their last 6 at the time that we're recording. I think they play tonight in the Europa League. We're recording this on Thursday, but it has been a significant blip for Spurs. Devon, are you surprised that it's gone so wrong for Mourinho in recent months?
From the position that they were, then I couldn't see them dropping off this much. I thought there would be eventually a point traditionally where Mourinho's sides do implode slightly in a season. Talking onwards from the second stint at Chelsea onwards after he'd won the title, it seems to be just a big mentality issue, just too negative half of the time, and there seems just one way. Obviously, the counter attack has worked with say Kane and Son really getting the best out of them this season, but in terms of everywhere else, it's just basic defensive errors. And I think I don't know. I think Mourinho just kind of lost all sense of ideas, and the integrity that he showed has remained, but the tactical side is completely just blown out.
Sam, do you think that Spurs have maybe been found out a little bit, hence why their results have dipped? Do you think they got maybe a bit lucky in the early parts of the season?
Maybe on some occasions. I think the big problem with Mourinho and the way he's played recently is when they are getting results like they were in November, December time, it's great. And you saw all the Spurs fans online saying, the way we play is not attractive or entertaining, but we don't care because we're winning. Mourinho's got us winning. But when you're not getting results like they are now, what does Mourinho offer as a manager at this point in his career? I'm not sure. And I see a lot of repetition in his time at Spurs compared to Man United and his second spell at Chelsea, where he's scapegoating players like Gareth Bale and Dele Alli and turning the fans on them, trying to take the attention away from his clear deficiencies as a manager in the modern game. I think he's failed to adapt, I think, and this is a big period for him now as Spurs boss, because they got the League Cup final in April, obviously, and if he gets that might buy him more time. But the way they played against City in the league, they just did not offer anything, and it was a limp performance from them. So if they play like that in that League Cup final, then I don't see them capturing that silverware. And that's what Mourinho's all about. He's about results. He's about silverware. And if he doesn't do that, then, like I say, what's the offer?
Well, as you say there, Sam, Man City at the moment are looking pretty unbeatable. So, Harry, can you see any chance of Spurs winning that final and maybe gaining a bit more credibility for Mourinho?
There's always a chance, Mourinho, everywhere he goes, that's one thing that he's always upheld, despite the fact that he always has a massive drop-off. Well, it at least seems like that anyway. He always wins something. And, they've beaten them this season, so there's no chance that you can say they've got no chance. Man City's defence leaks yesterday. I know they still lost 3-1, so they're not impenetrable. But it's a lot like Sam says. Mourinho always has the same sort of thing. You can play whatever style of football you want as long as you win. The second you get that loss and the mindset sort of goes, hold on, this might not be working, that's when it all changes. And the main problem with Mourinho and the way that these things sort of happen is, when you lose a main player, if you're any team in the world, if you lose a big player, you've seen it with Liverpool, you've seen it with Manchester City last season, you saw it with Kane this season, you're going to have a drop-off. But B, with Mourinho, when his team's had a serious decline, I can't remember a recent memory when they've been able to pick up that really poor form and then drive back up the table. You saw he's been sacked twice by Chelsea. You've seen when he got sacked by Real Madrid. You saw when he had to go from Manchester United. There's all these different occasions where when he's had a real drop, he's not been able to pick it up again.
I think it's interesting. Sam mentioned Gareth Bale there, who's obviously come in and evidently doesn't get on too well with Mourinho, and there was so much fuss in the summer, and I have to say I quite enjoyed the fuss because I can remember how good Bale was when he left Tottenham, and the moments he's produced at Real Madrid. He might not be popular over there with the fans, but we've seen him do it in the Champions League final against Liverpool and in the Copa del Rey and everything else. So, Devon, can you believe that Spurs have brought in a player like Bale, who we know can do it at the top level, and he's just been banished to the bench and barely been given any chance?
With Mourinho, of course I could. No, I think people were too busy maybe living in the past a little bit. In retrospect, he's had a long layoff without playing football. Let's remember that we are expecting him to go from not playing for a long time to back to where he was, and he has had several injuries, and even when he's been playing for the national team, he's looked as just as good as his best. But I suppose when you're in a side with Chris Gunter, you're probably going to. I think, I don't know, maybe somebody with a little bit more creativity and maybe more of a possession based in the centre, in terms of managers, would have maybe brought out the best in Bale. But I just think with the counter attack, they're kind of bypassing Bale's qualities to get Kane and Son involved, rather than getting out to Bale, let him work his stuff, and get it inside to Kane. They'd kind of just sit 8 behind the ball and then just throw it up and hope something happens. And it's been the same kind of monotonous delivery, if you know what I mean.
Do you think it? Oh, sorry. Do you think it was Mourinho who signed him, or do you think it was Levy who signed him? Do you think it's the name they went for and the big, let's bring him back because it's going to be amazing? Do you think Mourinho actually wanted him because A, they had quite a surplus of attacking talent, but B, like you said, it doesn't really suit what they're going for and the style that they've gone for?
I personally think it's Levy, Harry.
Yeah, he's not. There is no way Gareth Bale is a Mourinho signing. I'm sorry. Just looking how it's gone this season, trust is really hard to come by with Jose Mourinho. That's clear to see from what we've seen recently. And Bale is, if you work hard, you play hard with Mourinho. He picks the players that work the hardest in training, in particular, to trust when they get to the games. And Bale's just not that player anymore. Anyway, he's scored his goals, he's won his trophies at Madrid, and I think he lacks motivation. And at the same time, with the way Mourinho's recent jobs have gone, I don't think he has the same power that he once did to command the players the way he does. So I think it's a mixture of both. And to answer your question, I don't think he's a Mourinho signing.
I feel like it's get ready for another analogy here. It feels like, when you go to a supermarket and you want to buy one item and it's buy one get one free, but you think you only really need the one item. They got Reguilón from Real Madrid, and then Bale's kind of the second one you get free. You didn't really want it, but you've got it now.
Just the massive wages as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think they're only paying half his wages, and that's still a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you do look at some of the signings that Tottenham made this summer, and they were very positive for the foremost. I think Bale's just the name now, unfortunately, because I feel like Real Madrid did, well, especially the fans did just didn't rate him as much as they probably should. He should have legend status there for what he did. I mean, I remember was it the 2014 Champions League final where they were drawing with Atletico Madrid, and he pretty much was the only one that turned up in that 90 minutes before Real Madrid went on to win in extra time. So, and also you mentioned the Copa del Rey goal, which was absolutely sublime.
What a goal, man!
I'm pretty sure Mark Bartra is still trying to catch up with him at the minute. But yeah, he is an absolutely unreal talent. It's just a shame that maybe it's just a case for going into the Masters next year instead, seeing as he's had more practice on the field than he has with a football.
Go on, Sam.
It's all about trust to me for Mourinho. When the trust goes, it goes, and we've seen that a lot with him. And I don't think he has that trust in his defence in particular. I think that's why he plays the way he plays, because they've conceded 8 goals in their last 2 games when they've tried to go at it a bit more against Everton in the Cup and Man City. I just don't think he has that trust in his back line to play a more expressive style, because he knows that Kane and Son can sort of create something out of nothing. But that you can't always rely on that. That's not always going to work. You can't just rely on 2 players to do it every time to get you out of jail, and to hope that you have some luck on your side and the other team doesn't find a way to break you down. So I think that's what's been their undoing. But you've got to also consider that they're only 4 points off the top 4 with a game in hand. So if, at the start of the season, I think they would have been aiming for the top 4 rather than the title, because I don't think they finished 5th last season. I don't think anyone considered them a title contender at the start of the season. It's just the way they started the campaign that maybe changed some people's perceptions of them.
Well, you mentioned there, Sam, how Jose's teams are kind of. You look back at Chelsea's team, who I think only conceded 15 goals in the season. And this year, his team just haven't lived up to that. We're used to seeing Jose's teams see out games consistently through a season. But this year, I saw this stat on Monday Night Football. They've dropped 10 points in total from games which they've been leading at half time, which is the most in the league. So that's 5 draws that they've ended up with. Southampton currently in second, Harry. I'm sorry, I've got that written down. I didn't need to say that. But that's quite an interesting stat. And I can think back to games like the Crystal Palace one, the West Ham one, where they've just sat back, the Fulham one as well, which have been against teams that you would usually expect Tottenham to beat. So do you think it's maybe a bit of a mentality issue that they just think that Mourinho thinks the way he sets up will always succeed, but in reality it doesn't anymore?
Yeah, it's very system based, the way he plays, and when the players lose belief in that system, that's when it tends to go wrong. And that is a lot down to how Mourinho treats the players. He expects a lot of them, and that can get too much for a lot of these players when you get into the latter stages of the season, and we've seen that a lot.
Yeah, you go.
Go on, Eric. No.
Oh, thank you very much.
You've got right away, Harry. Go on.
Thing is, with the West Ham game, it's a bit of an anomaly because they're 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go. That's just a ridiculous situation. Whereas with the Fulham and the Crystal Palace one, if you're only 1 goal up and you try and hold a lead, it only takes 1 player to be out of position, 1 player to lose the ball in a stupid area, one mistake inside 90 minutes, and then that 1 goal lead that you think secure, and in the game you're dominating, it just all falls through. So that's the problem that I see. It's quite odd because you see Mourinho. I think he said a few weeks ago, "Oh, I'm surprised we didn't keep going." But then you hear Moussa Sissoko, I think it was, sorry if I'm wrong on that, saying we should have kept attacking Fulham because we're dominating. And it's a bit like, who's correct in that situation? Who's not quite telling the truth?
I was going to say just from when Sam made the point of the system based, I think it's also the mentality side from Mourinho and his status, his intimidation, and how he drills fear into some of his sides. And I think with the players, we've always talked about Tottenham having that issue mentally. Like even under Pochettino, I think we've said when the pressure gets too much, they crumble. And it's still a lot of them players that are in that kind of bracket. So when Mourinho comes in and strikes fear into them, he just doesn't. I don't think they've reacted well. And I don't think they've got the kind of personalities in there. I think sometimes, the types of Alderweireld, Højbjerg, Kane, they're the types of characters that will handle that very well. I mean, we've seen Harry Kane flourish this year, haven't we, with 24 goal involvements in 21 games. Just trying to prove that I've done some research there. No, but because of that, it's kind of been, as I've said earlier, it's been hoping for maybe a creativity out of anger. Like these players are going to get too angry and create something for themselves, but eventually the negativities play down, and that's what we've seen. I think that's the demise because it's probably a bad situation for Tottenham because if they were going to get rid of Mourinho, it's going to be a big payout, and Mourinho has already cost them a lot of wages in terms of himself, Bale, players that he's ostracised. So it's a bit. I don't know. If I was Tottenham, I wouldn't give him the opportunity, but I didn't realise the League Cup final was in April, which gives him a long time to kind of ponder his situation.
It really depends what the Spurs players and what the Spurs fans prefer. Do they prefer what Pochettino gave them, which was competing at the high level, getting to the Champions League final, competing in the league all the way, but just losing out at that final stage? Or do they prefer, winning a League Cup or winning an FA Cup, but not reaching sort of expectations in the Champions League and the league?
The thing is, I think Spurs fans, towards the start of the year, when they were eking these results out by 1-goal margins, they didn't care about the style, did they? Because they were still winning. That really is ultimately as simple as it is, that if your team is winning, then you're relatively happy. But I think now that the results have started to decline, they're thinking what they did have under Poch, which was a forward-thinking way. We've already mentioned Spurs went to the Etihad last week and looked, pretty hopeless. They barely even had a kick, whereas Poch would have gone there. He might have lost, but he would have kind of stuck with his style and he would have gone for it a bit. So I think they are in a situation where it's hard to know whether to stick or twist.
That's the age-old debate, isn't it? Is football about results? Is it about winning, or is it about being entertained and playing beautiful football?
But like Marcelo to Bielsa.
But the thing I find interesting with Poch is you get a lot of like Tottenham's rivals, Arsenal, Chelsea, will say he didn't win anything. And Spurs know that they didn't win anything while Poch was there, but they were still gutted when he left, weren't they?
They took, because he took them to great heights. He took them to heights that they'd never been to before, even though they didn't win anything. He made them a team that people were talking about as serious contenders in all competitions.
Yeah, maybe Mourinho will. He'll do what we don't expect them to do, maybe, and beat City in that Carabao Cup final.
I just don't think he's the same. I mean, this is down to age a little bit, probably as well. But he's just not the same man he was when he first came to the Premier League, when he had that swagger and that arrogance. But he also still had that fire under his belly. He still had something to prove, that he wanted to prove to the English fans and to the English press, which I think he's lost, in all honesty.
Before we move on, I just want to mention Harry Kane as well, because Devon mentioned there 13 goals and 11 assists this season. And he has been, their main shining light again, along with Son. I mean, you could have predicted it would be Kane. And it feels like every transfer window, there's always a little bit of talk about clubs linked with him. And Kane has always been so loyal to his club where he started. Or where he joined from Arsenal, whatever you think, because I know there's a picture of him in the shirt, whatever. But if Mourinho was to stick around, and you would expect him to carry on playing in this fairly negative style, could you really blame Kane for wanting to go somewhere and play in a system that properly suits him, or does this system suit him? I don't know. What do you think, Dylan?
I think we have seen I think it's benefited him a lot, because that when the ball goes up to him, he does drop deep, flicks it on for Son, and then Son will either return the favour or score himself. We've already seen this system's kind of brought Harry Kane from a goal scorer to an all-round forward, because obviously this is his best season in terms of assists, and I think obviously he's got 11 now. I think that's 5 more than his best in a season. I think it was 6. So we're seeing more of an all-round performance from Harry Kane, and that's probably the system where he is having to come deep to get the ball and playing it off, and more of a centre forward rather than a striker. But I just feel like sometimes with Harry Kane is that we've seen a lot from him anyway. Do we know whether this system's going to benefit him? Would he have scored goals anyway if it was under, did with Pochettino, did with him, did with Villas-Boas, and anyone struggled scoring that. So I don't know. I think Harry Kane's just probably good enough that he could adapt his style very quickly to any system.
There's that interesting conversation that Mourinho and Kane had in the Amazon doc, when Kane was talking about wanting to sort of elevate his profile to sort of a Ronaldo and Messi level. And I think he's got, although he's not quite at their level because they're just not human, those two, but he has got the ability to be a future Ballon d'Or winner, I think. And he's got the goals, he's got the stats. And I think he's got the ability to. He could do it in any team, I think. And I certainly wouldn't blame him for looking elsewhere. He's almost throwing his prime away if he stays at a Spurs team that plays the way it does and performs the way it does.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the system that matters. I think it's the trophy haul that matters. And for a player like Harry Kane, he needs trophies because otherwise, it sounds harsh, but he's not going to be remembered as fondly as if he won a Premier League or if he won, a Champions League. I don't know how much it's down to the system because in 30 years' time, people won't think, he plays. If he played in a good system, they'll be like, he didn't win anything, but flipping out the system that he played in was amazing. They'll be thinking, well, he didn't win any trophies. And that's all there is to it, really.
Maybe he's in the same bracket. I was thinking, someone like Alan Shearer, but obviously he won the Premier League with Blackburn. Maybe Les Ferdinand, somebody that a natural goal scorer scored, has just got an abundance of quality in the final third, but never really won anything. I don't think you'll ever see Kane get, in the same bracket or mentioned like Haaland currently, someone like that.
Van Persie back in the day.
People forget these, but I think part of me wants Harry Kane to succeed. I think maybe someone like Pep Guardiola could take him under his wing and make him that focal point replacement for Aguero when he has that couple of seasons where he wins every single Premier League title that City are involved with until someone like Liverpool comes along and knocks him off the pedestal. But
it's all about what legacy he wants to form, really. It's like with Steven Gerrard when he almost moved to Chelsea, which is where he would have won that Premier League title and those trophies he desperately craved, but he decided to stay at Liverpool because he wanted to be a legend at his boyhood club, and I respect him for doing that. And I would respect Kane for sticking it out and trying to make Spurs the team he wants them to be, that's competing for trophies seriously, but I don't see it happening under Mourinho.
Likewise, I'm sure in back of his mind as well, he's going to be thinking, if I move from Spurs and goals start to dry up, I don't get into the team, maybe taking that importance off him might crush his career a little bit. I don't think it completely, but he might stagnate.
Well, Spurs fans, if you're watching, then please let us know your thoughts. Would you want to stop Kane if he wanted to leave? Has he earned the right to go somewhere and win trophies? Does Mourinho need to go, or should he be given more time? We'd be interested to know your thoughts. But we are going to move on now to look ahead to quite an intriguing game this weekend. The Merseyside derby is always billed as a big one, but I think this one is going to be interesting purely because of the situations that the two teams find themselves in. So we're going to have a chat about each of the two teams individually, and then we'll look ahead to the game itself with a couple of predictions as well. First of all, Liverpool. I think we last mentioned Liverpool in a fair bit of depth about a month ago before they played Man United. And at the time, that was being billed as a big game in the title race. And we mentioned then that Liverpool had a little bit of a blip. They'd lost to Southampton. They'd drawn with West Brom and Newcastle. But you'd have to say it has gotten much worse for them since. Their long unbeaten league record at Anfield has gone. But it's not only gone, they've lost 3 straight games at Anfield, and they lost to Leicester last week. They're now sitting in 6th position in the league, which I can't really believe I'm saying, to be honest. So, Harry, is it fair to say that they're not going to retain the title?
I think they've all given up at that point. I mean, Chelsea didn't turn up for the first half of the season. They've now got Tuchel and they've got up to 4th. I think all the teams above them are more likely to finish above them, probably bar West Ham. I mean, they've picked up their form. They've won 1 game, so hopefully that changes their mindset, that changes their mentality. But to answer your question, they're going to have to reset for next year, and they're probably going to go for a second revolution of transfers, I'd imagine.
Yeah, you mentioned there, Harry, their win at Leipzig, which I have to say I wasn't sure how they'd get on there because
good win.
The Champions League is fairly ruthless business. Fair play to them. But in terms of the league form, Devon, do you think that Jurgen Klopp needs to make some significant changes to try and improve their fortunes, or have they been very unlucky, which some people have suggested? Is it a mix of both? What are your thoughts?
Thank you for allowing me to vent on this specific issue. Well, the past 12 games in all competitions, they've won 3 of them, drawn 3, and lost 6. And then 12 games, coincidentally, have come from that 7-0 drubbing of Crystal Palace. 13, actually, I've just remembered that I meant to say this is before the Leipzig win last night. The thing that's annoyed me is that in recent weeks they've complained about this centre-back issue, and they've still persisted with Henderson at centre-half when we've discussed numerous times how important he is in that midfield three. That I think I said it on when we was previewing the City game, is that they had an opportunity to sacrifice and get, Kabak and Davis in there in the roles, getting used to each other in that one game, maybe take a hit on that so that they could bring Henderson back into the midfield and have him doing the job, and at least having that attacking side to them going forward where the defensive they could take a little hit. Instead, they've continued with Henderson as centre-half, and I think even though Henderson has done okay there, he's just much better, and Liverpool tick when he's in midfield. And I've completely forgot where I was going with this now. But yeah, I think in terms of just in terms of that, I think it's just tactical decisions that have gone wrong. I think by saying let's get these 2 centre-halves in a proper position and win your individual battles. I think at the same time, Klopp will be thinking, well, if these 2 come in, and we saw with Kabak last week against Leicester with him and Alisson being confused and gifting Leicester the lead there, they'd have been able to shift maybe then that little bit of rustiness out in that game before the City game, and then go into that one with a bit more oomph about them, especially from the defensive standpoint, because I don't care about timing. A player should be able to do at least their basic job well, especially if you're playing for Liverpool. So,
are you pleased to have got that off your chest, Dev?
Yeah, I've been saying it for weeks. I've been biting my lip a bit in the chat, especially when people talk about Liverpool and injuries, because we've seen that Leicester have had a lot of injuries and they've been the only team that stayed in the top 4 all season. City have had injuries, key players out. So it's not the injury issue. I think it's just as soon as a team that's played consistently takes a little bit of a knock, they just lose it. It's like on a bike. If you go on a pebble, you're going to have a little bit of a rickety. It's just about maintaining that one instead of falling into a parked car like I did.
No, there's a second very good analogy there from Devon. I think you make some valid points there. Sam, I know you wanted to touch on one particular player, Thiago, who obviously came in last summer with a lot of fuss around that transfer. I've already spoken about Bale, but this one had probably an equal amount from the Liverpool fans. But do you think they'll probably be disappointed with how Thiago has fitted in so far, given how good he looked for Bayern Munich last year?
Yeah, I think they will. I think there was a lot of excitement around his signing, and this is obviously down to the defensive injuries they've had and having to move Henderson. I mean, the midfield was never really a problem in those 2 seasons where they were a fantastic team. I mean, Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum as a midfield 3 were brilliant. They sustained attacks, recycled possession when they needed to, and covered for Trent and Robertson when they got forward. And although Thiago is one of the best creative midfielders in the world, defensively leaves a lot to be desired. And in this Liverpool system where they're relentless in attack and defence, he has struggled to cope with the pace of the league in general. And his tackle success rate has declined significantly from his last couple of years at Bayern, where it was up in the 80s and 70s. It's down lower 60s, I think, this season. And he's committing a lot of fouls as well, more than he did at Bayern as well. So I think he's getting a bit older, and he's struggled on the defensive end in particular, and that's where Liverpool have been exposed.
Do you think that, again, kind of underlines how important Henderson is. Do you think if Henderson had been there alongside him and providing those runs going forward and that high intensity, do you think it would have been easier for Thiago?
Yeah, and I think obviously missing Van Dijk in particular is very important as well. I mean, I think he got to play with Van Dijk for like an hour, Thiago, this season in the second half of the Chelsea game and the start of the Merseyside derby, and they scored in the second half against Chelsea, and they scored in that time they played against each other against Everton. So I think if you'd had Van Dijk in there, he provides a lot more cover than what they've got as options at centre back at the moment. Then those problems wouldn't have been exposed as much. So I think it's not only down to him, but his weaknesses as a defensive midfielder have been exposed a little bit.
Sam, just before George jumps in, Arsene Wenger suggested that Liverpool were aggressive in midfield before, but by adding Thiago in, that technical player, it upsets the rhythm as a whole. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like I mentioned, the midfield three that they've had pretty much the last two seasons, pretty much of Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum, can do it on both ends of the field. I mean, Fabinho's more of the covering midfielder, but Henderson and Wijnaldum are great on both ends of the pitch, and I just don't see Thiago. He's getting up there in age; he's approaching 30 now. I just don't see him as that midfield player who's able to, cover the gaps in defence.
So we've spoken about how the drop off that Liverpool have had and the problems that they've currently got, but how disastrous, Harry, do you think it would be for them if they were to miss out on the top four and all of that work they did to win the title and build this team? How worrying could that be that it could suddenly maybe start to split apart? Do you think that would happen?
Oh, massively. Just humongously. The reasons for this: A, financially, if you finish the Champions League spaces, as high you go, the more money you get. It's an obvious concept. You see when Manchester United didn't qualify for the Champions League, they've missed out on hundreds upon hundreds of millions of pounds because they were consistently in the past not able to qualify in those Champions League spots. But B, the players that they're trying to attract will go, hold on a minute, Manchester City might want me, Manchester United won't want me, and other teams around Europe in the Champions League spaces might want me. And obviously, they're bigger players who are at their peak, maybe the other side of their peak. For some of them, we're going, where I say, I don't want a season not in the Champions League, especially in a league where Manchester City look like they are going to be the dominant force for the foreseeable future with their squad not aging at all. I'm not saying Liverpool's are by any extent. I'm just saying now Manchester City have got the ball rolling. It's going to be very, very difficult to stop, especially with their squad depth. So for players coming in, for players coming out and being able to afford those new players, I think it'd be absolutely disastrous.
Yeah, and it's interesting how last summer Kylian Mbappe was linked with a move to Liverpool, and you have to say with the form he's in at the moment that he'd probably be foolish to make that move. But we mentioned Liverpool's win in the Champions League. Maybe that's the route that they will look to go down, simply by winning the Champions League to try and qualify for next year. But obviously a long way to go in that one. If you're happy with that, guys, I think we'll move on to have a quick chat about Everton now. And they head into the derby just 3 points behind Liverpool, having played a game less, which I think if you'd said that would be where they would be at the start of the season, if you'd said that to them, I think they probably would have taken that. They finished
Definitely
in 12th. They finished in 12th position last season, and obviously now they're kind of loitering in the European spots. So are you surprised to have seen them improve so much, Devon, or did you expect it with someone like Ancelotti at the helm? He's obviously so experienced.
I think with some of the summer deals they did, they had to have made that step up at least a little bit. Maybe not the magnitude. I don't think anyone would have expected Dominic Calvert-Lewin to be as good as he has been. I think they'd probably expected him to score goals, but not as many as he has or being as influential as he has. I think he's really stepped up in terms of the attacking mantle away from Richarlison. because I think Richarlison's been quite hit and miss, even though he was on the score sheet last night. I think the influence of James has been good, but more importantly, because with Everton for the last few seasons under Marco Silva, Sam Allardyce, and the managers like that, they've been quite. Everything's been imported straight into the attacking sense, whereas the defensive side, we've seen, and this is going to bring a smile to you, George. Ben Godfrey's played well, and Allen in midfield's added a bit more steel, albeit I think he's been injured for a little bit as well. And they just seem a lot better defensively than going forward. However, the only thing that's holding them back is picking up silly results against the likes of Everton. And albeit they did lose.
The likes of Everton.
The likes of Fulham.
And Newcastle.
The likes of Fulham. It's because I've got Everton written down instead of Fulham on my thing. I'm just going to let Harry continue. But
no, like Devon was saying, Newcastle have done the double over them this season. I believe Fulham Fulham did beat them 2-0 just over a week ago. Like if anything, they'd be disappointed where they are. I know they've improved, but then you could also say the rest of the league may have taken a slight hit in quality, or maybe other teams have improved as well. But with the amount of money they've spent, they're going to certainly be happy because they are right in there for the Europa League places, if not Champions League. Like you said, they're only 3 points behind Liverpool. Obviously, they'll be disappointed with the fact they lost to Manchester City, but it's no shame looking at how well they've done recently. So, yeah, like I said, there might be a tinge of disappointment they're not higher, having dropped, like Devon said, a lot of silly points across the season.
Sam, do you think maybe a reason for why they've had a few disappointing results is because their squad depth maybe isn't up to it? We've obviously spoken last week, and Devon's mentioned it today, the likes of Calvert-Lewin have been really good, but I've found that when he's been missing, they haven't really had someone ready to step up and fill that void.
No, you're spot on there. I think Calvert-Lewin's going to be a big miss for the derby with the injury, and he's got 18 goals in all comps, and the next best is Richarlison with half that. So they have heavily relied on him this season, and their form is stuttering at the moment. They've only won one in the last 6 in the league. So they would have been hoping to go in a bit better form into the derby, which is a game they have not had a lot of success in recent times. So I think, and Pickford, the goalkeeper situation, that's another problem for them because Pickford's performances have left a lot to be desired for me this season once again. And they obviously had Olsen, who's come in a couple of times, but he's not showered himself in glory, I would say. But I think they've definitely made obvious improvements under Ancelotti, but I want to erase, like the other guys have mentioned already, this lack of consistency.
Is Calvert-Lewin definitely out of Sunday's game? That's interesting because I think he played 75 minutes last night, didn't he?
Oh,
I'm not sure. I don't think he played.
So I don't think he played last night.
I don't think he played. No, I'm pretty sure he missed the fixture. He missed both fixtures against both Fulham and.
He didn't play last night.
Manchester City.
Don't forget.
He had a dark orange triangle on fantasy football, so that's never a good sign.
I think Devon's on the research desk, so we'll get that to you as and when.
He might feature in the derby. I don't know. I don't know.
But the problem is, who are they going to be able to get as a backup that's capable? Because obviously they've let go of Czech Tosin to Besiktas, I want to say. Mm-hmm. But who's going to be happy to be a backup at Everton? And I know that sounds harsh. There's a big difference between being a good backup at Manchester City, Manchester United, and being a backup at Everton.
Actually, if you're watching, there's a Portuguese striker playing for Reading that I recommend.
No, I think you're right, Harry, and I think Devon's mentioned that Richarlison, I personally think he's pretty well suited to playing on that left side. And he seems to be the backup at the moment to Calvert-Lewin. And I think bringing someone in to play backup is obviously difficult, but I think Tosin ultimately wasn't really up to it. Because we saw him, I think he went to Palace last year and it didn't even work out for him there. So I think it's probably best that they had him gone. Have we got an answer on Calvert-Lewin, Devon? Because I think if we're about to give our predictions for Saturday's game, that could be important, whether he plays or not.
So Goal are reporting that the England striker is sat out the last. Well, they're not reporting. It's fact that he sat out the last 2 games. But apparently, Ancelotti says he could start on Saturday.
Oh, there you go.
Wow, there we go. Well,
I think they'll need him if they want to win at Anfield, which is a place they haven't won since 1999. So obviously, Liverpool's recent form at Anfield gives them a much better chance than they thought they would have. But
Everton's recent form also indicates otherwise.
Who are the favourites going into the game? Is it still Liverpool?
I would still back Liverpool.
I think the bookies will be giving it to Liverpool. But as you say, Everton will surely see this as the perfect opportunity to stop that Anfield hoodoo, won't they?
Definitely one of their better opportunities. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, but if I remember rightly, didn't Everton have a similar kind of situation about 2 years ago when everyone was saying, "Oh, Liverpool are without, I think, one of Mane or one of the front three," and said this is Everton's best opportunity, and Liverpool still remain 23 unbeaten against Everton. That streak is a long one, but it's a hard call, let's say.
Yeah, I think you're right, Devin. I think I can vaguely remember that. Was that the FA Cup game? No, maybe it wasn't. I can remember Curtis Jones scored.
It was the FA Cup game last year where was it last year where Curtis Jones just scored that penner from nowhere and Liverpool had quite a young side out.
It's either that or the Boxing Day fixture that was on Amazon Prime that I believe they won 4 or 5-2. But that might have been the season before, so I do apologise if I'm incorrect with that.
The Jones goal was no more than 2 years ago. I think there's been so many between them.
Bromwell that it were on TV. So yeah, it was.
I think Everton can definitely take positives from the Man City game because they were in it. I mean, City dominated the ball like they always do, but they were in it for good spells and they scored. They're on level terms for quite a long period in the game before. Mahrez and Bernardo Silva produced a bit of magic between them. So I think they can stick it with the big boys of the league. So they should take encouragement from that.
I just want to mention before we give some predictions, do you expect there to be a little bit of added spice on Saturday after the Pickford and Van Dijk incident earlier in the year, Harry? What do you think in terms of that? Do you think Liverpool will be a bit more up for it?
Oh yeah, because I think Pickford's this sounds mental, but I think Pickford's inadvertently ended their title chances. I know people like Devon says injuries, you can't moan about injuries, but when you lose the best centre back in world football, that's quite a big injury hit. That's quite a massive injury hit. So it's a lot more difficult to accidentally slide tackle a goalkeeper. I think that's a lot more difficult to try and hide away from. I think if a midfielder crunched Van Dijk, you could sort of, Robertson's the best at it, sort of knocking him over left, right and centre, just, without anyone noticing. But yeah, there'd definitely be spice added on top of the Merseyside derby in itself. It would definitely be a good one to watch. Maybe.
This game has more red cards than any other game in Premier League history, if I'm not mistaken. So, obviously,
not being one of those red cards.
Obviously, without fans, that takes a lot away from it. But I think it will be. There is still a lot to fight for.
Yeah, I was going to say without the fans, it just seems like any other rivalry is kind of being squashed a little bit. I feel like, I think in recent times anyway, I think the lack of homegrown players has kind of moved that the importance away from derbies nowadays. But I think if there were fans there, I think it'd be more of a battle between Everton and Liverpool supporters with that issue. I mean, it would have been a good one if Van Dijk had made his recovery in time for the game, but obviously it was a nasty injury.
So there it is, this Saturday, 5:30 kickoff, I believe it is. I think it's on Sky. So if you've
we haven't got a brand deal, George. I can't say
it. If not, then I'm sure you'll find a stream somewhere. Not that we should be promoting that, but there you go.
We do not promote such activities.
So let's get some very quick predictions before we move on with the quiz. I'll go to Sam first. Score prediction for Saturday evening.
It's tough, but I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool.
Devon, what do you think?
It's one of them games where I feel like this is the perfect opportunity for Liverpool to get back to some kind of form, and I feel like they're going to shock. And obviously, nearly the prediction god with the 0-0 against Manchester United, and I predicted 3-1 Liverpool City, and it finished 4-1. So I'm going to go for 3-0 Liverpool.
Oh, Harry, what do you think?
I don't want to watch a 0-0 draw, so I'm going to say 1-0.
I'm pleased none of us have predicted 0-0. I actually think I'm going to go with 2-1 to Everton. I think they're going to do it. I think I watched that Leicester-Liverpool game last week, and Liverpool looked so settled, and I thought they're going to win this because Leicester just didn't look in it, and suddenly it just went. And I think the fact that Liverpool got that vulnerability there at the moment, I think Everton have got to capitalise on it. So I think, they might finally break that hoodoo.
They need Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, it will sniff out chances when if they don't have the centre back. So they need Calvert-Lewin. Otherwise, it's Liverpool's to lose.
Do we think Liverpool will finish the season in a higher position than Everton? Are we in agreement on that, or do you think that's also going to be a close one?
Everton are just too inconsistent for me. Although Liverpool have had a bad season, I think that Everton can't hold that good form long enough to. And there's so many teams in the mix around the top four. So.
Yeah, I think we saw at the start of the season as well when Everton started off fantastically. I think they had one bad result and it kind of knocked them again. And they went on a run of losing. Was it against Southampton?
It was indeed.
Was that the stop the count?
Probably could have guessed that.
No, that was the Newcastle game, which ironically, when we won, we were top of the league. When we went to play them next before, we came off the back of a 9-0 loss. So, but, why have I mentioned it out of everyone? There was no name.
Talking about what is
since
the second 9-0.
It was not even in our thoughts, Harry. It was not in our thoughts. And you
can't get away from it.
It's like Stockholm syndrome. He's just loving the pain. Oh, I can't.
There we go. There we go. There is your Merseyside derby preview, which should be an intriguing game, as we've said. But we will finish this week now, of course, on the quiz. I seem to pull away maybe a little bit over the last couple of weeks. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, George.
Over to Sam. Let's hear what this week is.
I have to say, I said Harry had 15 when he does actually have 16. So
get in, come on, up the boys. Let's go. Love that for you, Sam. Thanks very much.
You've already said it on camera.
I need all the points I can get. To be honest, I need all the points I can get. So we're taking it.
It's 23 for George, 19 for Devon, 16.
Flipping out, George. You don't want to boss on this, do you? Hey?
It's something about the hosts. So obviously Sam last time, and now he's the host. George was the host last time, and now he's leading. Yeah. So I'm going to volunteer for season 3. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. It's all about our first discussion point this week, which is about Mourinho.
Oh,
okay.
I don't know. You said in the Amazon doc that we were all saying his first name wrong, so I don't want to say his first name.
Well, his first name's Mourinho and his second name's out, according to Tottenham fans.
Go on, Sam.
Anyway, we got 6 questions today.
Oh, he's changed up the style as well. He's broken away.
I know everyone's on the edge of their seat. Question number 1. Mourinho started off as an interpreter for which manager?
Oh, God.
So a translator.
Oh.
I can see his face because I saw the pitch. Oh, my word. What is his name?
I'm really not sure. Hang on. I think I do know, actually.
Be a certain group of fans that'll know this man very well.
Silence, Sam.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm ready for number 2.
Number 2. At which club did Mourinho start his managerial career?
Oh, no.
I've got a feeling it's not this one, and it's going to be someone before it.
Not saying anything.
Tottenham Hotspur's under 14s.
It's not easy, is it? Because it's kind of before our time. Devon might remember it. But...
I'm a year older. Last week it was Declan Rice,
like
now it's my age.
This is like the Southampton 9-0. Can't get away from it.
Go on, Sam.
Question number 3. Which 2 managers did Mourinho replace at Chelsea? So who did he replace the first time and who the second time?
Oh, I like that question.
Was it?
Good question. Good question.
Good question.
Oh, that's tough.
Oh no, was it? No, it couldn't.
That is very tough.
Which one of the 47 managers was it in the last?
Chelsea have had a lot of managers, that's why.
Oh, did he win it before that?
That's really tough.
No, because I think he replaced.
Oh God,
Sam, I'm going to apologise for my spelling in advance.
As long as you say it correctly, then.
I'm going to apologise for my pronunciation in advance.
Yeah, I think I've got it. I think
It's not guaranteed.
got it.
I'll get a translator. I'll get Bielsa's translator.
I've been watching Premier League years these last few days, so
Have you got both of them, George?
That's got to have helped you.
that better not be a tip-off, Sam. I'll be annoyed if that's a tip-off.
George, have you got both of them?
I think I've
George,
got
This
that.
I'm struggling.
Years on, watch it.
George, you should watch Premier League years before this.
Focus on Chelsea.
Mourinho said, "If I speak, I am in big trouble." After his Chelsea side lost to which club?
Oh God!
Oh no, it might not be.
If I speak, I'm in big trouble. I don't know to be in trouble.
The campaign has a current. I don't know where that said that in a complete different order that he should have been. Oh, who was
They
it?
lost 1-0 to who?
I'm going to.
Very tough. I think I know it. Oh.
Just don't know the timing. Whether he'd be. I think it's against one manager, but I don't
That's
know.
not right. I can't think of another club. Hang on. No, I'm going to change. You can say question number 5. I'm just writing.
This is the closest gets the point question. So, how many players did Mourinho sign for Manchester United?
Is this in total at all of his clubs or just?
No,
Just
for
Manchester United.
While he was
Oh,
Manchester
4. I
United.
thought you
How
said
many?
from. Sorry. How many did he sign? How long was he there then? Yeah, well, I'm just
Oh, but that seems too many.
going with that.
I'm gonna kick myself in the foot for trying to go this low.
The foot.
Yes. I don't. Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
It was a combination of kick myself and shoot myself in the foot, but let's go. We love an analogy.
Yeah. Final question, number 6. Who scored the first goal under Mourinho at Tottenham, and who was it against? Which team was it against?
Oh,
Samuel.
I can remember this. I was in a pub in Everton at the time, but I can't remember who scored.
Wait,
I was in
what
Leeds.
happened? What's one of those?
Oh, what?
That was the weekend you were in Leeds.
I was very hungover.
Your birthday
What happened?
weekend.
Yeah. My birthday weekend.
At Tottenham.
We won't go into any more detail.
I just remembered mine.
Oh dear. Ooh.
Yeah, I think the team is right, but I'm not sure about the player. We'll see.
Oh, I've watched the Amazon documentary, so I should know, but I don't. So that is a shame.
Right, when you're ready, Sam, let's have some
Answers. Question number 1. Mourinho started off as an interpreter / translator for which manager? Devon.
I don't think it is, but I've gone Bobby Robson.
Bobby Robson. Who's George gone for?
I think you're right, Devon. I've gone with.
Yeah, Bobby Robson.
Full house. It was Bobby Robson.
I saw you two struggling, and I thought, yeah, I'm in here. Let's go.
I saw someone put the picture on Twitter. I think it might be one of the Athletic guys, and I thought, okay, that might come up. And I couldn't remember his name.
At which club did Mourinho start his managerial career, Harry?
I know it's not this, but I can't think of a Portuguese team, so I just put Benfica, and I know it's not
Benfica.
that. I know it's not that, but I just shouldn't think of anyone else.
Devon, you got?
I thought it was Porto, but I don't know.
Please don't say that was his first.
I don't know if it was anywhere before that though. That's my thinking.
I beg that's.
I've got Porto as well.
No.
Well, Harry thought Benfica was wrong, but he was actually right.
Oh, let's go.
Wow.
Come on.
How's he managed?
Yes. Honestly, I almost crossed it out and just put nothing because I was thinking of like.
That was actually a typical Harry tactic. I remember last season he'd say, "Oh, this is a complete guess. We've got no idea." And then
that's a great answer. Fair play.
Oh dear.
You need a few more of those, Harry.
Yeah, I think I need about 7 more of those.
No, we don't want.
No, we don't. I'm not finishing last
Number
again.
3, which 2 managers did Mourinho replace at Chelsea, George?
I'm feeling fairly confident here. I think the first time it was Ranieri, and then the second time it was Rafa Benitez.
Oh, yeah.
Harry, who have you got?
Yeah, I said Ranieri as well, but I went Mr. AVB, Andre Villas Boas.
AVB.
But yeah, I think Benfica.
I've also gone for Ranieri,
Mm-hmm.
but I've got a feeling that he replaced somebody that had replaced the sacked manager, so I've gone Gus Hiddink.
Gus Hiddink.
For his second, but I can't remember if Hiddink actually replaced Mourinho now.
Well, you've all got Ranieri correct. I can say that. But for his second spell, he did replace Rafa Benitez. It's George.
This is a campaign against me.
Because Rafa won the Europa League, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
the Europa League.
That's 2 points for George.
Excellent.
Damn it.
Not a very popular Chelsea manager, I don't think.
I've got a feeling George is going to be too far ahead now for us, and Harry's going to overtake me after this week. Oh no!
No, not this week. I think hopefully in a few weeks.
Next week.
Okay, 4. Mourinho said, "If I speak, I'm in big trouble." After his Chelsea side lost to which club? Devon.
I've just got a big feeling it's against a Big Sam side, and I've gone for West Ham.
On the Hammers, George. Who you gone for?
I've got Sunderland.
Harry.
I went Southampton.
Southampton. Unfortunately, none of you are correct. This time it was Aston Villa.
Oh.
Yeah, but because I got the colours near enough right, claret and blue.
I think they had 2 players sent off in that game, and there was a lot of ref trouble. So that's what he was obviously alluding to.
Yeah, I was, because of the ref trouble, I was thinking the Barcelona tie, but I couldn't remember if he were even in that one, managing Chelsea at the time.
Question number 5. How many players did Mourinho sign for Manchester United, Harry?
I said 16, then 12, then 10.
And 10.
So 10 as well.
Indecisive, Harry.
Yeah, I just thought 16 was too many for 2 seasons, but you never know with Mourinho. So.
Go on, George. You're eager to share.
I've gone 14.
14. Devon.
I feel like I'm at the moment where everyone's gone higher and I'm on House of Games and I've gone very low. I've gone 6.
Gone 6. Got a wide range there. But it's down the middle. Harry's got it. It was 11.
Come on. Get in.
Get in. Yes.
I don't think he'd had that much of a change, to be fair.
He probably just signs random players that you forget are even.
I think Lee Grant was one of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he's close to agreeing a new deal, apparently. Well, that's the reports anyway. So.
Okay.
Get the homegrown.
I don't know if he's even down. I don't know if he's even down as a player at this point.
Oh, enough of the Lee Grant slander. He was pivotal to my growing up, as well as David Lucas and Mark Crossler.
Back in the day. Final question: who scored the first goal under Mourinho at Tottenham, and who was it against? Devon.
I was going to write down another answer, but I thought I'll stick with it because we've already started sharing the answers. Now I've thought of it, but I think it's Eric Dyer. But I put Son versus West Ham.
Son versus West Ham.
You can never guess West Ham too many times in a quiz.
Gone for
me. I think it's also West Ham. I went with Dele Alli.
Oh,
Dele Alli.
Oh, it was.
that's annoying.
Was it Dele Alli?
I went the other attacking threat, and I went, oh, the paper's not going anywhere. I went Kane.
Not with
against
Kane.
West Ham.
Oh,
It was a 90th minute one because like when Sam was finishing up number 5, I went for Son versus Ludogorets, and then I realised that was probably this season, not last season. So it was a 90th minute.
You've all got the team. You've all got West Ham. But it was George's mate, Sonny.
Oh, yes!
I started celebrating as well. I mean,
Yes!
either way, I would have got a point. That's annoying.
That's why I did that. 'Cause I knew you would.
For those of you who can't see our reactions and are just listening on Spotify or whatever, I thought there that Sam was meaning that I'd got the answer right, so I started fist bumping.
I mean, of course, I didn't think it were Eric Dyer. It was just the bluff, obviously.
Hashtag Sonny.
Oh, how frustrating! I
I'll
do
take
love Sonny though. I can't dispute her.
I'll take 4 points.
We'll just let Sam total those up. That's quite an interesting round, actually.
Harry's edged it this week.
Guess it. Wait, have I?
Yeah, you definitely have.
How
Lovely.
many you got, Harry?
I would have got 1, 2, 3,
I got
4,
5.
5. Yeah, 5.
I think I'm on 4, aren't I?
You've got 4.
Closing the
4
gap.
as well.
Fair play, Harry. Fair play.
And I'm still bossing.
27, 23, 21. No.
There we go. Still
Oh.
very tight.
It's the guess again, Harry. It's the guess. Ah.
Still lots more rounds to come. Maybe we need to get some House of Games like merch, like a suitcase and a toolbox.
Harry, you've won this face mask. There you
Thank you very much. I was going to say my
Can't-
job.
Get a paracetamol on it.
go.
But yeah, lots more rounds to come in the coming weeks because we want to carry on with these. If lockdown carries on, then we will still be here. You can count on that. But that's pretty much all we've got to say this week. Follow us on Twitter at _formation. We're also on Facebook, of course, and we're maybe considering starting a TikTok. So let's know what you think on that.
We're going to get Harry's going to do the renegade, and George is doing the silhouette challenge. And...
I'm doing the whack dance.
But yeah, any suggestions that you've got for us, please put them down in the comments below. We liked seeing last week your England teams. A few of you put them down below, including a full Devon Cash 11. But yeah, let us know what you think. Go and watch that England video as well if you haven't already. You've enjoyed this week. I think you'll enjoy last week's. But we will see you. I'll keep saying the word week. We will see you next week. So thanks a lot.
Cheerio.
See you later.